Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here with another fascinating psychic training tool. And here's a real fun one. This came out in 1987, which is called Voodoo. Whoa! Voodoo doll game. And this is a great psychic training game. And again, what makes something great? What makes it great is it's interesting. Now, this is really cool because it's challenging and fun. And again, I don't know how many times I have to say it, those who haven't listened to me though, but if you want to develop strong psychic abilities, you've got to pump psychic iron. But if you're going to use ESP cards, well, just give it up. Go get a shot of whiskey and a beer and sit on the sofa. You're wasting your time. Psychic ESP Zener cards, the most boringest and one of the most stupid tools ever offered, are fun for like 10 minutes, and they're nice to have, and you can play with friends, etc., and they're cheap. But it may be a place to start. We sell them, we include them in kits, and they're traditional. That's why we offer them. So they are kind of fun to do, send and receive simple patterns. Stars, squares, circles, etc. And you can do this with your friends and people easily, and they're able to relate to it to a degree. Now, but that is not something you want to continue to use to build your empowerment. In fact, these were used by J.B. Ryan, the famous parapsychologist, and he got very talented people, and here's the instructions, who were very psychic, and made them into dummies who couldn't even remember their names. And he wrote about this extensively, of how doing these repetitive, boring tasks were super counterproductive. Here's the side. The mysterious voodoo doll holds the key that keeps the witch doctor from leaping free. Voodoo doll game for boys and girls, because they didn't want to think that it was a doll. But it's not a doll. The sides say the same thing. But you have this very cool, let me move this for a second. You have this very cool game board and a bunch of pins. Now here's the game board. Let's see if I can get a good shot of this. So what you have is this cute look at that cute face. Ooh. You got that cute little face with this whole kind of what would be considered a traditional voodoo doll for an occultist, in this cool looking orange, and of course it's kind of on this native looking or voodoo looking background. Got a snake here, plastic pins, here's another holder up here, so it's on this very plastic, pretty strong. Underneath you have the little apparatus that triggers here. Now, what makes this so fun is, and so psychically challenging. Now, there's a couple of games like this, and we are reproducing, not necessarily like this, but we're reproducing these kind of pin hunt games, or pin in terms of using pins to find underneath. We do this with our Find the Dragon, where you actually go in there and find the dragon by inserting a pin. Well, where is it in that box? Now, this is when you trigger this device, what happens is the little devil, I guess this is a devil. Let me put this in front here. And look at how cool that is. Let's see if I can get closer to that. Look at that cool face. Looks like a little devil. It says voodoo on the chest, and it says press here. Push in at base. And then basically what happens here is this locks in there. This little tab at the bottom there, it locks in to keep the witch doctor from attacking. Or what I like to do is have the witch doctor release the spell that I want to cast. Now, how do you do that? Well, you have to trigger it. Now, underneath here, there is all these holes underneath there. There is a metal pin in one of these holes that has been inserted in there, and this can be changed for each game. Now, you can do this kind of with a sleeping mask on, so you don't quite know where it is. You can have somebody else set the game for you, and now you want to ascertain where. Now, it is not set. I'm just going to go through this, but you want to ascertain where the metal plug is, so that when you stick this in, this will open up and release your spell. So, now you can do this by yourself, and again, you want to use your psychic. This is not guessing. Now, you can do it with friends. You can do this for drinks. You can play strip pin finding, whatever it is that you're into. But the whole idea is, what you're trying to find is which one of these holes will release the witch doctor and cast your spell. Now, there are traditional rules. There's different ways of doing it, but that's basically it. So it's fun. Instead of just having a box here that you try and find the shape underneath, which is another tool that I'll be showing you very soon here, here you have something that tells you you're in the right hole, and a thing pops out, and we'll show you how that works in a minute. So what you want to do, again, is the usual. Energy flows from the left through the right. You hold this. What you're doing is, probably should put a couple of fingers and then go down. Can I sense it? And again, it is metal. But you're sensing, is there something in this hole? Or here? And then you're going up and down, and you want to sense this. So the whole idea is to get your psychic senses going. And when you say, well, I think it's here, you stick the pin in. Now, the pins only go so far, and there's a plate underneath there that when you push it will actually, if there's a little metal plug in there, and the metal plug will then push the bottom of the device and have this pop out, which I'll show you in a minute. But you keep doing this until you actually find that. And you leave the pin in there. They give you many pins. Let's see if I can get the bag here. Here's the bag full of pins, so you can have multiplayers to do that. I think we have the, can we see that? You'll see the, there's 2 metal plugs in there. So you can put more in there, and it's always a good idea to put both in when you're starting anyway. The whole idea is, don't make things hard, and your inner magical being says, suck this game, it's too hard. And it turns off. So you want to make things easy. So it's a good idea to put 2 in there. Okay? So that you have 2 chances of this. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 times 6. So you got 36 holes there. So you have 2 chances out of 36 to find this and release your spell. And you could put energy in there. You have something that you need sent to you, or you want to manifest something. Well, you could put inside the hut here your written request. I mean, you can use this almost like a spell casting tool. And look at how cool this is. Make things cool and interesting. Burning candles, doing little talks, all this stuff I find boring. I love toys. I love gadgets, which make things exciting. And that's what we got here. So what you're going to keep doing is putting these things in these holes until you find one. Now, I don't have it set up, but we will show you what happens when you actually trigger this. And here we go. Let's see if we can get this triggered. Maybe I should have put one in there. When you trigger this, got it in there pretty tight now. It pops out. So what happens is that this pushes the metal thing down. Underneath it releases, this is a little tab here, and it pushes that tab down so this can push out. Of course, there's rubber bands underneath here and everything else, which can be easily replaced if the need be. So this will last you a long time. Here's the rubber bands, just standard rubber bands. This is where the actual witch doctor comes out. Let me take this out to kind of show you. Here's where you put in one of those two metal plugs. You insert them in wherever you want here. And of course you can close your eyes, use a mask, just stick it in there. You won't know where it is. Then you've got to hold it down. And then of course load this. But when you load it, it's based on the spring. It opens up and releases the actual figure and pops out. So you can actually do that, and then you can see, well, how many pins did it take you to release the witch doctor? And again, stay away from guessing. This is not a guessing game. You're trying to detect where that is, just like I did with the Mind Over Matter preview I just showed you. Well, where is it? Well, feel it. Use your fingers. Is the energy here? Is there solid underneath there? Is there not? Sense it. Put your hand on it. Go down. And then when you feel that there's something underneath there, you stick it in. Was that it? And then you keep going, sensing, until you actually do it. And make sure you end successfully. Don't just stop doing it. Make sure, and it doesn't matter how many pins. Don't tell yourself you weren't good at it because it took too many pins, all this kind of nonsense. Just make sure you end with successfully releasing this. And this is what you do. And this is, as I said, look at how cool this is. Now, these are fairly rare. It's difficult to find these as well. Again, always check the links below. We may have one in stock that we are selling. You never know. We're always on the hunt for these things to try and find them to sell to the public because they're so fun. But, you know, this is a great training tool. You have a 1 or 2 in 36 chance of finding the metal pin in here. This is great odds. This is a good trainer. And again, it's not guessing, well, I'm going to guess and still go. That's not what you're doing. You want to work on this till you're able to sense and get it every time on the first or second pin. So that's what you want to do. And this is, you know, how much more fun can you have? You have this little hut, you have this cool little thing here. And you can demonstrate this to others. You can have others try the same thing. You can bet with somebody on this. I mean, it's a great tool, and it's made pretty well. This should last with basic care indefinitely. If the actual spring, I should say, if the rubber bands break, well, they're just rubber bands. Just replace them. There's really nothing else to break here, and you're just using this in a common sense way. You've got a great psychic tool. And as I said, this just goes back in here. You just press it back in. There's that little tab there. See that little yellow? There we go. See that little orange tab down there? So that holds the demon in there, the witch doctor. You close it, and you're done. So all you got to do is trigger that, and then it pops out again. Let's see if I can get that triggered to some degree. There we go. And it just pops out. Very, very cool. It's exciting. It has action. It keeps your inner magical being busy and activated. It's fun. This is something you could do as a regular game and take it seriously psychically, and play it seriously psychically with other ones as well. I mean, things don't get too much more interesting than this and how they can be used psychically. You know, I'm always amazed of how many games are kind of psychically based. One of the famous ones is Battleship. Who hasn't played Battleship? It's been around for, must be 60, 70 years. There are lots of versions of it. Where you state a number and then the person says if that number and letter, which you cross section to, is a place where one of your boats are at. And if it is, it's a hit, and you put it in there. And then you've got to get multiple hits to sink that other person's ships. Well, you know, you can play that as a hunt and pick game, or you can play it as a real psychic game. Don't hunt and pick. Don't guess. Where is it? Where are the boats of your opponents? And it's the same thing here. Where is the metal? Don't just, oh, I'm going to keep putting pins in until I find it. Well, that's a goofy way of doing it. That's not a psychic tool training method of doing it. And you certainly can with this. But here we go again, people. Look at this cool tool. As I said, look for the links. Remember to like and subscribe. It's important to support our work. And watch for other tools, things we make. And of course, check the links to see if you can get one of these directly from us. Until next time, lots more coming.